The moment we stepped off the plane, the subtle hum of the city seemed almost louder than usual, as if amplifying every thought racing through my mind. The taxi ride to the hotel was quiet, except for the occasional murmured instructions from him, his voice calm and measured, yet carrying that unshakable authority I had always felt at the office. I found myself watching his hands on the steering wheel, the way he adjusted his posture slightly when he realized I was looking, and my chest tightened with an awareness I couldn't quite place. The hotel lobby smelled of polished wood and faint floral air freshener, a strange contrast that somehow made everything feel more intimate than it should. As we moved to the elevator, the silence stretched, punctuated only by the soft ding signaling each floor. I caught him glancing at me, and for a brief moment, the world seemed to shrink until it was just the two of us, suspended between professionalism and something unspoken. Our room had a large window overlooking the city lights, and the glow spilling in painted everything in shades of amber and gold. He set his bag down carefully, almost ritualistically, and I noticed the slight tension in his shoulders, like he was holding back a weight I wasn't supposed to see. I told myself it was just nerves, the anxiety of a trip, but the way he laughed quietly at a joke only I seemed to notice made my stomach twist. We unpacked in near silence, each movement deliberate, the rustle of clothes and the soft clink of bottles on the desk filling the space between us. I could feel the air change when he leaned against the counter to check his emails, the faint scent of his cologne mingling with the hotel's floral notes, and I realized I was holding my breath. Later, we decided to go for a walk, the streets nearly empty at this late hour, the city lights reflecting off wet pavement from an earlier rain. He walked beside me, close enough that our shoulders brushed occasionally, and each accidental touch sent an unexpected jolt through me. He spoke about work, about clients, about logistics for the next day. But I could sense the pauses, the tiny hesitations, the way his eyes lingered a second too long before he looked away. I tried to focus on the rhythm of our footsteps, the hum of distant traffic, anything to calm the strange flutter in my chest, but it was impossible. Every glance, every word, felt charged with a weight I couldn't name, as though the city around us had disappeared and left only the two of us suspended in that fragile, electric moment. Back in the room, I found myself staring at the skyline again, trying to gather my thoughts, while he moved quietly around the space, unpacking, arranging things, his presence filling every corner. I realized how surreal it was to be here, away from the routines of the office, away from the eyes of colleagues, in a place that felt both unfamiliar and unnervingly intimate. Every shared silence, every casual comment carried an intensity I hadn't expected, and I couldn't tell if it was the novelty of the trip, the closeness of the space, or something deeper stirring beneath the surface. And in that room, bathed in the soft glow of the city lights, I felt a storm of emotions, anticipation, confusion, and a sense of being on the edge of something I couldn't yet define. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains, warm and golden, and it hit the room in a way that made everything seem sharper, almost too vivid. He was already awake, sitting on the edge of the bed with a cup of coffee in hand, scrolling through his phone. The quiet hum of the city below mixed with the faint aroma of coffee, and for a moment time seemed to slow. I watched him from across the room, noticing the way his fingers tapped lightly against the mug, the crease between his brows as he read something, and the subtle rise and fall of his shoulders with each breath. It was ordinary, mundane even, and yet every small motion carried an intensity that I couldn't ignore. I realized I was acutely aware of everything he did, every glance, every slight gesture, as if the room itself had sharpened my senses to him alone. When we finally left for the conference, the streets were quieter than usual, the crisp morning air brushing against my skin. He walked beside me, professional and composed, yet I could feel the invisible tension, a current that ran just beneath the surface. During the drive, he discussed presentations and meetings, but the pauses between his sentences were charged with a subtle weight. I caught him watching me from the corner of his eyes, and it was in those moments I felt the strange mix of admiration and unease twist inside me. His laughter at a minor joke made my chest tighten, and I found myself counting the seconds until we reached the hotel lobby again, craving the space where we could be alone once more. In the hotel, after the morning sessions, the room felt almost too quiet. He moved about efficiently, unpacking notes and preparing for the afternoon, and I noticed how the sunlight cast shadows across his face, highlighting the sharp lines I had only ever glimpsed at work. I tried to focus on my own tasks, checking emails and reviewing documents, but the presence of him in the same room made concentration impossible. Every slight movement, the tilt of his head, the brush of his sleeve against the desk, sent a jolt through me, and I realized that my mind was no longer on the work at hand. It was on him, on the tension that hovered invisibly between us, on the small, ordinary moments that somehow felt extraordinary because they were shared alone. Later, we decided to step out for lunch at a nearby cafe. The walk there was quiet, the city alive yet strangely distant, and I felt a constant awareness of him beside me, of the way our steps occasionally synced, of the faint scent of cologne that lingered in the breeze. He spoke about mundane topics, menus, the weather, travel logistics, but the undercurrent in his voice, the slight hesitation before certain words, made my heart race. I found myself noticing details I had never observed before, the way his eyes caught the light, the way his laughter softened when he thought I wasn't looking, the casual gestures that seemed deliberate in their intimacy. By the time we returned, the hotel room felt like a small, charged world of its own, every surface, every object a silent witness to the tension that had quietly grown through the day, leaving me aware of emotions I had never expected to confront, and an anticipation that felt both thrilling and frightening at the same time. By evening, the room had taken on a softer glow, the city lights outside flickering like distant fireflies, and there was a weight in the air that seemed impossible to ignore. We were both quiet, each absorbed in our own tasks, but the silence was thick, almost tangible, wrapping around us like a third presence. I could hear the faint clatter of his pen against the notebook, the soft rustle of paper as I shuffled through my own notes, and every small sound seemed amplified, filling the space with an intensity that was hard to describe. I found myself stealing glances at him, noticing how his jaw tensed slightly when he was focused, how the light caught the edge of his glasses, and how even the smallest movements seemed to carry a rhythm I was subconsciously trying to follow. He suggested we step out to get some fresh air, and we wandered down the quiet streets, the cool evening air brushing against my skin and carrying the faint scent of rain from earlier. The city felt different at nights, lower, almost secretive, and I felt a strange intimacy in the way we moved together through the dimly lit avenues. Every time our arms brushed, a spark seemed to jolt through me, and I noticed the careful way he adjusted his stride, as though matching mine without thinking. We spoke little, letting the rhythm of our steps and the distant hum of the city fill the space. Yet there was a shared tension, unspoken and impossible to ignore. I realized how acutely I felt everything about him, the subtle expressions, the way he seemed to notice things others wouldn't, and the way our quiet moments together carried a weight I couldn't name. Back in the room, the dim lamplight made shadows dance across the walls, and he moved around with a quiet efficiency, arranging papers, checking emails, yet I couldn't focus on my own work. The proximity, the unspoken awareness between us, made even ordinary tasks feel charged. I caught him looking at me more than once, the corner of his lips twitching as if he had something to say but chose not to, and each glance sent a flutter through my chest. The room was small, yet it felt like it contained a universe, every object, every sound magnified in significance, every silence loaded with meaning I couldn't articulate. I sat quietly, pretending to review my notes, but my mind kept returning to him, his expressions, the subtle changes in tone when he spoke, the way the city lights reflected in his eyes, making them seem warmer, closer somehow. As night deepened, we found ourselves lingering by the window. The city sprawled below us, lights twinkling like stars brought to earth. He spoke about the trip, about the sessions we'd attended, but there was a softness to his voice, a warmth that had been absent in the formal settings of the office. I listened, heart-pounding, aware of every detail, the shift of his weight, the pause before he answered, the faint exhale he let slip when he realized I was watching. Time seemed suspended, and I felt a strange mixture of awe, unease, and anticipation, a sense that we were suspended in a fragile, electric bubble where everything else, the office, responsibilities, the world outside, had melted away. And in that quiet, charged room, I became painfully aware of emotions I had tried to ignore, of a tension that had grown slowly, invisibly, and now demanded recognition, leaving me both exhilarated and unsettled in ways I had never experienced before.